Right, good morning everyone. I hope you had a really good sleep and long sleep last night. First talk of today is from Grzegorz Wątroba. Grzegorz is a principal software engineer at Pixelant Games, responsible for development and optimization and porting of various PC and console titles, including, for example, Crime Boss City Roque and many, many more. And today he will tell us more about leadership in code teams. Grzegorz, stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello everyone, and I'm glad that somebody came because last night, So still, I'm very grateful, and I'll talk about the leadership because it's hard, and if anyone tells you differently, he's lying. And I'll share my experiences regarding the leadership. I've been a leader in a few teams. I've assisted producers in others. And I'll try to describe you some ready-to-go solutions for leadership in general, but also in code teams, like a last brief part. If I won't make it with everything, because we have like half an hour and it's quite a long presentation, there will be downloadable takeaway at the end, so you can have all the notes there. So this is the plan. So we'll talk about the role of leadership, some of the basic traits and challenges, how to properly build a team, build anti-fragility, talk about the workflow tips and specifics of the code team. And yeah, so let me introduce myself. I'm a programmer since 2010. I've worked on various projects on probably every platform now since 2005, and worked with those companies. So not only game dev, but some corporations, Autodesk or Nokia. So I've seen different angles of leadership and how companies can be run. But enough the introduction, so let's get to the basic stuff. Who's a leader and what qualities that position needs? So we need efficient leadership if we have a structure. If you're like a small team, like 3-5 people, most of the time you either go the democracy way of establishing some stuff, but if you're like 10 or more people, in the end somebody has to call the shots. And if you have even bigger structure, you cannot control everything. So you have to have the effective leadership that will follow your vision if you are a CEO, and then deal with the mundane day-to-day tasks, because you cannot control everything, and micromanagement is really toxic. So you need to have effective leaders, probably depending on the shared field of specialization. So most of the time you have art team separately, design team, code team, and so on and so on. And function of the leader is keeping the transparent communication within the team, communicate horizontally and vertically. So horizontally is between teams, and vertically is between management and the employees on the lowest level, and helping producer and upper management to organize work, organize tasks, educate people, mentor them, and maintain a company's culture. So what are the qualities of a leader? So first of all, servitude. So if you've seen the image before, where you have the CEO, leaders, and so on. Actually, in practice, you have to reverse that image because it's all about servitude. You have to serve the team you're leading, because you have to be their foundation, the help for them. That's why, as a leader, you have to throw away your ambitions and pride. The main goal is to serve your team. So John C. Maxwell said that there's this law of buy-in, that you have to be ready to invest time, effort, engagement, show that you're willing to be uncomfortable, to sacrifice your personal gain for others, and then people naturally will try to give back to you. Then Major Winters, a Second World War hero, said that officers go first. So that means as a leader, you have to be in the front line to promote ideas, be at the front line of being faulted or burdened with some discomfort or failure. You take the risk, but you should be the pioneer or help someone to be that pioneer with some ideas. You have to be an example to follow. So as a leader, people look up to you. If you don't want your people to be crunching, doing overtime, you yourself cannot do that. If you want your team to communicate properly, you have to do it yourself. If you want them to push the boundaries of excellence and provide the highest quality possible to the game you make, they need to see that in you as well. Also, there's this 3C rule, so character, competence, and commitment. So as the character describes the moral backbone, so you don't lie to your team, you're not sacrificing someone for your personal gain. Then the competence, so you have to see the broader picture of the project. You have to have this broader sense outside your department. So you have to know what the relations are in the teams, between the teams. Also, the commitment. So people need to see that you have the stake in the company, the project, and most importantly, the people, and that you're sticking to your values. Then there's this acronym PROMISE that is taken from John C. Maxwell, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and it holds a really good collection of guidelines for leaders. So to go through it, provide honest and actionable feedback, remove obstacles, and preempt problems, own the problems, make time, influence the management, spread the praise, and encourage to make decisions and take responsibility. And this all will come together through the presentation. And to give a first example of failure, I couldn't make the time, or I didn't want to make the time at some point during my leadership. And because of that, I almost lost the most experienced programmer in the team, because I couldn't or I wouldn't make the time for one-on-ones, so the brief talk about personal stuff with the people in the team. And he had a tough time because he was the most competent guy in programming team, so he didn't have someone to learn from, and he always had to teach somebody. And he felt a bit left out, but he tried to reach out to me, but I was too focused on finishing the milestone. So because of that, at some point, when he finally got to me, he said that he's overburdened, he's overworked, and also he feels left out. And then my heart stopped, because I couldn't afford losing the guy. So I made efforts to make up for him, to give him more time, less tasks, so he didn't feel overburdened. And I made some time for mentoring for him to fill the gaps in his education. So I needed to invest more. But if I did everything before correctly, then we wouldn't have this situation. And from the more positive side, there was this time in Polish industry that, in general, pay gaps were the pay grades were rising up, but not in the company I was working for. So people started joking, on LinkedIn I have this offer, that offer, they're paying more, and so on and so on. So when I heard that a few times, I reached out to the boss and said, listen, we are crunching. We don't have enough time to finish the project properly, and you're not paying enough money to people. And you have to do something, at least two or one of those, one of those three problems at least. if you don't want to lose a team, and you cannot afford that because nobody now will work for you on that project, so because we are too far into this. And we established to give more time, like move the release window for 2 months, and like do the gradual pay rise, because the boss knew that without that people will just leave, and somebody had to tell him that, and he wasn't like he wasn't dumb or anything, but he was too far from the team to notice that there is a problem. So somebody has to like bring up to him. So that influencing the management is also important. And how to drive those changes if you need to change something. Not making revolution, that's the first thing. The bigger push and the change, the bigger opposition you'll have to deal with. Do not enforce your will. If you have a higher position, you cannot use that to oppress people, because you'll become a tyrant and people will do you tell them to because of the position, but not because they want to, but because they have to. So also, if you want to have a change in your team, you have to be that change you want to see in others. So if you demand from the people that they will hold specific values, they need to know that you hold them yourself. And sorry. Also, don't start with facts, but start with why the change is important. 1 minute, a sip. So this is a theory of Simon Sinek, to start with why. And this is like applicable in more than leading the team. Starting with explaining why something is important will get to the people better. If you start from inside out, so what to do, what to achieve, then how to do it, people often forget to explain why some change is needed. So if you start from inside out, it's actually reaching more to subconscious area of the brain, and will help people to actually accept the change. Sorry. My throat wasn't ready for this. And so the first summary is, the quality of your leadership determines the amount of success of your team. So there are leaders and those who lead. Those who lead use position of power to enforce their will to others, but true leaders inspire, and we follow those people not because we have to, but because we want to do it. Sorry. So, another story of Mr. Sinek, the Navy SEAL story. Trust versus performance. So each person has a certain range of skills. Some of those are connected with competence and expertise, and some of those are the soft skills revolving around the communication. And this is the chart that Simon Sinek devised when he was working with the Navy SEALs. So one of the best organized teams in the world. And sorry, just and they have this slogan of I can trust you with my life, but can I trust you with my money and my wife? Which shows that every team needs highly performative people, but also needs people that they can depend on. So sometimes it's better to have more trustworthy people in the team than the best performers, but they are toxic in some way, because then it can destroy the team completely. That's why the leader is not the best shooter in every case, and this is like the biggest. Sorry. So this is the biggest mistake that some teams do, because they engage the people with the most experience, but they may not have the interpersonal skills to actually lead the team. So you end up with like unhappy and lousy leader that needs to communicate with people, but actually don't want to. So when you have this basic ley line, let's talk about communication. So the basic problem with communication is that people tend to mind read, rely on their own thinking schemes, making assumptions, and they fear of asking questions. And the thing is that everybody has different experiences, different education, and because of that we have to we have to think about how to communicate properly what we have in mind. So the simpler communication is the better. Not using wildcard words, not using like the words that can be interpreted in various ways. And if you feel that you're not understood properly, then you have to explain as soon as possible any problems with interpretation of the things you say. So also there's this problem of confidence and self-worth, because rarely we have like the balance feeling of that, and mostly in game dev we have either the imposter syndrome, or you're too proud to admit that you have a problem. Also, there's this, you have a bunch of communication techniques to like communicate things to people, and I want to focus on only like two basic and simple ones that are proven to be working. So first of all is negotiative. So this is the way of communicating that you are focusing on the problem. So when you have to establish something, plan stuff, then you focus on the thing that people need to do. And we are leading the conversation, but in a respectful and responsible way, so everybody has their saying. Every idea is welcome, but still you base on team values and values like loyalty and cooperation. And through simple sentences, you communicate to people that they should do something, and which is simple and direct. But if you have to solve the problem or communicate the hard information of sort or criticism, then NVC is the better way. So nonviolent communication devised by Marshall B. Rosenberg. This mode is more personal and emotional, but it's useful to solve conflicts, justify actions, and inform about needs or any hard-to-talk things. And this mode, you start from your own stance, how you feel about something, but not with judging people for specific behaviors. So this is the way of communicating without any passive or active aggression. So stating, for example, I'm angry because something you said, and I would appreciate if you would say it differently, or something like that. Then, try to be precise in your speech, avoid wildcard words, and the better you know somebody, the more things you'll notice, what things you should and should not say. It's worth taking note of that, and it will help to properly get to that person. However, if you do not know the person you're communicating with, and you see that things are misinterpreted, explain as soon as possible, as I said. Because discrepancies of sorts can grow inside those people and become toxic, and then you can like have a tough communication period in your team. Then from communication, let's go to feedback. And it's hard to accept criticism because people in game dev tend to be very attached to their work. They have a fear of being rejected. We tend to be defensive about the things that people criticize about ourselves. Then you can have a bad day or something. If you are not ready to accept criticism, you can just say that let's talk about it tomorrow or something, but you have to talk about it in the end. But still, you need to be open and detach this feeling that if somebody says something about our work, then it's not criticizing ourselves. And also, if you give feedback to somebody, you should focus on the things that a specific person does, not what the person is. Also, years ago, I heard the massive praise about something like shit sandwich. So to cover a bad thing with two positive ones, and to be honest, it brings more harm than gain. It creates that push and pull feeling, so you're sending mixed signals to the people. And actually, you should use keep, stop, start technique, which starts positively because you say, you praise somebody for doing something right, then you're pointing the things that are going wrong, and then you suggest the things that the specific person can do to improve. So this is like more constructive way of criticizing or talking about things. Also, you have to, like I said, assess the work and not the person, and be precise about your remarks. And it's a problem that people tend to either criticize or praise out of habit. And because of that, it becomes less constructive to make that statements. And because of that, even the praise, but too often, praising people too often creates that less and less value. And also, I've heard in specific teams when I was working, I've seen many wrong approaches to that, because I heard like, success itself is the best praise or something like that. And the worst idea I've heard is that there is nothing to praise for after a successful milestone, and that's like complete bullshit. Because if a team of dozens of people create something out of nothing, and they're like from different branches of competence and still make something good, they have to be praised for. Now the team building. So all those values, communication tools and proper feedback leads to team building. But why? So the well-built team knows what to do, don't have to guess things, does less mistakes, and proceed in more efficient manner. And aside from practical side, people are happy, more motivated, and this also can be seen outside the company, which draws positive attention. And how to build the team properly. So be open, listen before saying anything, and support others. Take a responsibility for your mistakes. So be the example of proper conduct. Recognize the value of others' work. So if you are praised as a team or as a leader for example, doing the milestone or feature well, it's most of the time everybody worked for it. So be sure to spread the praise because it's rarely work and success of only one person. So don't take the praise for yourself if you're a leader of a specific team. Also, Łukasz Hatsura, the CEO of Anshar Studios, once said that game development team should not be a family. And I always like, when I hear that company is like a family, don't know about your families, but I wouldn't go to the company if it would conduct as my family. I love them, but I couldn't work with them one day even. So game development should not be a family, it should be a sports team prepared for the Olympics. So focus on honesty, respect and efficiency, not the emotional safety. Direct people to a certain goal without taking them by the hand, and give people agency, not overprotectiveness. So drive people to excellence through training and not by doing things for them. That was my mistake as well. Sometimes because instead of letting people try to do something and make mistake and iterate on it, I micromanaged sometimes because I said there's no time, and I burned myself to the ground because I was doing people's work, which I shouldn't. Also, this approach encourages people to be more responsible and take agency and own the problems and features. This also connection with the sports, you know, it's all about the points and winning in sports, right? But within a team, the game is completely different from like a sports event, because the game of team building is an infinite game. And this is another theory of Simon Sinek. So we have like two types of games. Finite and infinite games. Finite games are with the known players, fixed rules, agreed upon objectives, and those are like sports, every competitive game, and so on, so on. So somebody has to win. But infinite game has known and unknown players. Rules can change. And the goal is to stay in the game as long as it's possible. So player fall out the game if they drain out of the resources or will to play. And driving the company to perpetuate on the market is the infinite game, and driving the excellence of your team also. So how to play the infinite game? So the goal is to build and improve, not to be the best, not to compare to yourself to others. The goal of team building is improvement and is to thrive, to build gradually, and not to beat the competition. And this is like the gym wisdom, so do not compare yourself to others. If you're consistent, if you progress with your own pace, compare with yourself from the past and be proud of your progress. So sacrifice short-term for the long-term. Know your goals and values, and create an environment to be open about fears, mistakes, and asking for help. And be flexible. So hard materials bend or break. So to adapt, because game dev is hard and really sometimes in the moment, so to speak. So to adapt, you should actually aim for anti-fragility. And this is a novel concept, some kind of novel concept with, which is worth exploring. So anti-fragility is this thing from Nicholas Nassim Taleb. And I'll tell you that in a minute, but why we should aim for that anti-fragility, because we cannot foresee everything and we have a volatile market. We can lose money like overnight, right? You remember, you heard about the Embracer. I think nobody else in the gaming industry lost like $2 billion overnight, right? So it can happen to everybody, not maybe in that scale, but still. So the anti-fragility is a term taken from the book Anti-Fragile Things That Gain from Disorder. So we have those different systems in life, and in a broad sense, everything is a system. Human body, company, relationship, and so on. So we have fragile, robust, and anti-fragile systems. and we have a black swan, so this very random event that has immense impact on the system. And fragile breaks with when uncertainty shows. Robust does not react, might bend a bit, but returns to the initial state. And anti-fragile becomes stronger under every stressor and gains from it. So to build anti-fragility, you cannot do naive interventions. So for example, the micromanaging stuff. And to build anti-fragility in a positive sense, the barbell strategy, for example, is a good way to do it. So pairing low risk task for somebody to be sure that that person will make it, and add some high risk but smaller tasks. So maybe that person will fail, but it won't have like the biggest impact on the project, and somebody else could help that person. And then you have this overlap of knowledge, and redundancy is always a good thing in terms of the knowledge, because when somebody gets sick, for example, and you lose somebody in a team for a while, then somebody else could take that person's place. So if you aim for that knowledge overlap, then you can actually gain from it. The other anti-fragility techniques is, like I said, knowledge overlap, retrospective, a sense of ownership. So if somebody at some point will take the specific division of the project, then it will tend to react faster for certain problems. So this is also a good thing. And even if there is a crisis, as a leader, you have to remain calm. Making games is not like making medical equipment, so nobody dies from it. And if you have a bigger problem, it's always possible to just divide and conquer. So lecture in general revolves around code teams, but I said most of the time about the general leadership stuff. So let's delve into details of the code team specifically. So our job is to be precise, do things in certain order. Programmers tend to not be very communicative. Nobody learns that in school, or at least not in my time. And we have big responsibilities, because small change somewhere, some like one character wrong, and everything can go to shit. So that's why we need to be focused. We tend to be overburdened, burnt out, and so on and so on. So we have all those stresses. Also, whole this stress also applies to other divisions. But like I said, in our case, there are certain expectations, and that's why there are many tensions between programming team and other divisions, and still around those situations, we have to still communicate properly, and this is not like the perfect environment to do it. Still, we have to learn that, and slowly coming to an end. Yeah, we have to. What we can do in general on production level and code level to lead better. So generally, introduce Agile properly. Aim to follow as much rules as possible, and you can cut on rituals and artifacts later if you know how to properly lead through the agile elements. Choose your own implementation of it, either Kanban, Scrumban, whatever the hell you want, but the proper production flow is really important. And most of the people that say that Agile is not working are those people that are not doing it properly. However, do not sacrifice the actual work for the sake of the rules. adapt the rules to your needs, but still try to follow that proper philosophy. Organize workshops within the team and between teams. For example, try to train, if you're doing Unreal projects, try to train the technical designers. So workshops about specific solutions, algorithms from the code team, for the design team. So they will make better blueprints, for example. So this is overlapping knowledge, but also making projects more performative right from the bat. Also, create lead vision meetings. So the leaders should meet at least once a week with the boss or product owner to verify whether they are following the certain vision of the project. And this is like from the movie industry. For example, Fincher, don't know if you know the David Fincher director. He said that at certain moments he was doing these meetings every day if he felt that people didn't follow his vision of the production, of the screenplay, the montage, and so on. So he was talking about what he wanted to achieve with the team, with the movie. And because of that, leaders of specific divisions knew how to go with the work and how to lead members of the team. Also, try to do one-on-ones. So every second week, at least 15 minutes or so, even less, to talk about more personal stuff, more things that specific one person needs, because in a group sometimes things tend to dissolve. Some people may have may have a problem to speak up in the group about specific problem, or it is personal problem with somebody else, and this is important to start those conversations more privately, and without this you cannot know the problem and address it properly. Also, within the production, unlock first approach is really helpful. So this is Kanban inspired. To eliminate blockers first. So if you're making the code, the biggest need is to have this code tested and accepted. Because most of the time, if programmer does the feature, the next feature relies on the previous one. And if it's not tested and verified that it's fine, then it can build up on the wrong foundations. Also, if the designer makes specific feature, it should be prototyped as soon as possible, because of that, he don't know what to iterate on. The same goes for art. If somebody makes something, the 2D image concept model or something like that, the art leader or art dealer should verify whether this follows the general vision. And because of that, people will improve on narrowing down the proper way of conducting. Try to compress communication blocks. So aim for core hour, 1 hour set of meetings, because if you granulate the meetings along the way, people will fall out their workflow, and this is not efficient. Also, do the systematic checkups. So in code teams, this is the code review. In design teams, it can be going through the documentation or verifying the blueprints. And with art, it's talking with art dealer and so on and so on. Also, coffee time is important, especially if you're working remotely, because sometimes people need to have a break within the normal day of work, and talking about the things they like for a while, for half an hour, is also important. A few times a week. In Pixeland, we have this 2 meetings for half an hour that are specifically described as not allowed to work, come for a coffee, let's talk about what games we are playing and so on and so on. So this is important for people, especially if they are working remotely. And code workflow tips, pair programming is really useful. You can do it either in person, so two people staying at the same station and they're working together to solve the problem, but you can do it as well in remote work when you share the screen and then show the problem and you deal with it at that moment. Also code review, like I said, is important. Then open consultations is something that I did in my previous job, and because of that we eliminated any other calls for the code team. So we compressed everything to like 45 minutes per day. Yeah, I'm like near the end, so. We compressed everything like in 45 minutes per day because we did like 10 minutes stand-up for production, then 15 minutes of solving the code team problems, and then nearly a half an hour for other teams to just come by and ask questions, because sometimes people have a problem with describing the issues they have. So they just show us, and like half of this time we solve them on the go. So we reduced the number of issues on Jira or something, because people just came to us and asked for help, and since there was a whole code team there, most of the problems were like 5 minutes fixes. So I encourage you to do open consultations. Also, code on duty is a nifty thing during the end of the milestone. If people are starting crunching, you should, or maybe try to have one programmer like sitting all day in like open call, so everybody could come and solve problems on the go. However, try to plan not to actually use it. If you plan well, you don't have to have this stressful end of milestone thing, but in practice it always is. So it's beneficial to have this one person from the code team to be always on duty during the day. You can have like you can exchange the time that you are on duty with others, and it's really helpful to have that person that can react on the go. So, like I said in the beginning, some of the things you might not agree with everything I've said today. Some things you've already probably worked through and might have worked or not. But I believe at least some of those things will be applicable to your teams and companies, and make use of it. And I believe that you want to be, or you want to have responsible leaders in your teams. I feel that you want to build a company that lasts, makes great games, and makes it without sacrificing your private life or health of your people or yourself. And I believe that the only thing that you need to sacrifice is the pride, and then a bit of commitment, attention, and time. So to summarize, the quality of your leadership determines the amount of the success of your team. So serve the people you're leading, show engagement and commitment, lead by example, prioritize in a smart way, communicate properly, give feedback properly, build a sports team, not a family. Team improvement is an infinite game, and aim for anti-fragility. So of course we are hiring, so you can download the slides by scanning QR on the left, or look for opportunities when scanning QR on the right. You can always contact me in person, and I'm still around and be around even tomorrow. So yeah, then of course you have links. Links for all the sources I used for the presentation, the books, the websites, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. We have a few questions from the audience. So the first one is, what would you advise in a situation where in a mid-sized studio, CEO is micromanaging every department despite the presence of department leaders?
make a leader meeting with the CEO and explain on the examples that the micromanagement actually hampers the work, is not helping. So if you just talk in general about the problem, it might not reach to that person. But if you show the examples, listen, you did this, and because of, not you are like the asshole or something, but you did this, and because of that, it went sideways, for example. And if you have those examples, try to do that in a respectful way, but explain that micromanagement is not working properly. And I think finally, if every leader will talk to him, like in a group, maybe the CEO might feel a bit like under the siege. But if you do it properly through, for example, keep, stop, start. So, dude, you're doing this well, but this not working, and maybe we should try this. Then it might reach that person if you do that in a respectful way. So I hope that answers the question.
The second one is, what is the biggest difference between leading big and small teams from your point of view?
If you have small teams, you have more generalized people. Everybody makes everything for at least within the specific department. But if you have bigger teams, you have bigger the narrower specializations, and because of that, there is this problem that if somebody gets sick and is not present, rarely that person has another proper replacement. And in smaller teams, since most of the people are generalists of sort, then it's easier to solve that problems. But also, if you have a small team, sometimes it's one 3D artist, one programmer, and if he's leaving or he's sick or something, then you have a bigger problem. So the chaos management and the problem management is different, and this is, I think, the biggest difference. So this managing replacements, managing the lack of certain person, and it's easier to communicate in smaller teams. And if you have like 20 people, then you tend to have longer calls. So try to so you have to try to divide it so you don't have like a whole team sitting the entire hour listening to things that they don't need to hear actually. So reducing the communication overload in bigger teams is a bigger challenge.
How to help coders and QA communicate effectively without starting a war?
The oldest war in game dev, I think, because there's this notion that coders create and QA destruct, but it's not that. QA help, as name states, quality assurance, right, or quality assessment, but still, they help to improve. So, focusing on work, not the person, detaching your work from yourself. Because if QA doesn't want to be mean to you, or shouldn't at least, the QA should tell you where the problem is, so you can improve faster. So you should be, as a programmer, you should be grateful for the feedback if the feedback is respectful, of course. So, like I said in the presentation, focusing on the problem itself, not the person, and detach the assessment of the work from yourself. And if you start doing those two things, it's a good start to properly communicate. Can you show the links again? Yeah. So I'll leave the links later, maybe, so everybody could scan it. I'll leave the QRs.
We'll do that after the talk.
Okay.
So what to do if your lead is showing mixed signals and he do not trust you and you don't know whether they want you in a company or not?
Huh. Showed mixed. That's the good entry point for one-on-ones. So reach to that leader and talk to that leader directly. And if you're still not getting the direct answer, then go over him to somebody upper, so upper management or someone like that, to explain what the problem is. Without, sometimes you have to head on to the problem. So if you're getting mixed signals, just like address them directly and talk about your feeling of the situation. So be open about it in NVC way, talking you know, my feeling is that I'm not sure that you want me in that team or something like that. So because you said this and you said this, and it's confusing me. So could you explain what your stance is about me? And if you're not still getting the answer, go over that leader to somebody else to explain.
And the last question is, what do you hate doing in your daily job?
Writing documentation is probably the worst thing, but I know I have to do it because I don't have I have good memory, but not that good that if somebody asks me half year later on, where was that solution or that problem, could you lead me to it? It is my responsibility as a team leader to point that person to a specific solution, and I might not remember it, so I know this is actually for me. So I hate writing documentation, but I know I have to do it not only for the team, but for me myself to be quicker on my feet and give better answers. So documentation is, yeah, the least pleasurable thing about doing games, but I know it's important.
Okay, thank you very much. Do anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay.
Thanks. So my question is, you mentioned a very good sports metaphor where you consider your team to be a sports team. So I was wondering if you ever had a sort of a pre-season preparation for your next projects, like a period of intense training before the next project.
Yes. When I had the possibility to do a longer period of pre-production, when designers were constructing the GDDs and the prototypes in blueprints. During that time, we planned the architecture, we planned the techniques we'll be using with the variations and options, and if I knew that or was asking if somebody doesn't know how to do certain things, we made the workshops. So we had this training preparation, then I knew that we will be doing blueprint to code conversion. So I did very specific trainings about that to properly interpret or consult with designers what did they mean when they made this spaghetti monster in blueprints. So this was like the training for competence and to solve problems without me engaging at some points. And it was really helpful, but you rarely have that comfort. But still, if you have, try to use it efficiently.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.